Hello, gracious ones. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Grace. Thank you for coming on, and I would like you to subscribe and join this gracious family. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you. I'm here because you keep coming back. And so today, I'm just going to answer a very pressing question, and I think it's one of the most challenging things for me while I was trying to move down. So I want people to learn from my experiences and try to do it better. So today I want to talk about accommodation. Accommodation is key if you're trying to move from a new place, as in you're trying to move to a new place from where you are. You need somewhere to, rest your head. You need somewhere to take shelter from the cold and all, especially when you're coming to a region that is quite cold. So accommodation is not something you should joke with. Basically, if you're coming here as a student and you want to secure accommodation, there are student accommodations which do not take people who are coming with dependents. So if you're coming as a family, you cannot take the student accommodation. So you have both private and school-owned student accommodations. So if you're coming as a student without a dependent, I will advise you go for the student accommodation because they come with a very good package. So when you are in the UK, you pay a lot of bills. The electricity bills, you have what you call water bills in some places, you have the council tax, you have a lot of bills to pay. But when you come in as a student and you take the student accommodation, most of the student accommodations, I think all, if not all, have all the bills inclusive in the amount you're paying, and which is a fair price when you compare it to what you pay if you're going to take a full apartment for families. So for students, you have student accommodation, and here your bills for accommodation are paid on a monthly basis or weekly basis, as the case may be. So you don't pay annually, like if you're coming from countries like my country, Nigeria, where most of the landlords will have you pay for a full year or even 2 years in some cases. So yeah, you pay your bills on a monthly or weekly basis depending on the situation on ground. So if you ask me, I would advise you coming as a single student to take accommodations. Sometimes if you can take on-campus accommodations, all well and good, because you will get some very good offers. For these student apartments, most times you have shared kitchens. And when I say shared kitchens, it means you're sharing kitchen with maybe 1 or 2 other people who are with you in the apartment. But some of them have their personal rooms, just like a studio apartment kind of thing. You have your room, you have your toilet and bathroom, but you just need to share kitchen with a few people. All bills inclusive, including your internet, your heating, your lighting, all those things you will pay if you're staying in the family accommodation, okay? And the student accommodations also come furnished. So it's a win-win. But if you are coming with your family, by the way, before I move to family, as students and for student apartments and shared apartments, you have lots and lots of options. Because of course, when you finish your school year as a student, you have to move out of the student accommodation and get another accommodation. So that accommodation is always available for students when they come in for their program, whatever session you're coming in for. So that's a plus. Because what's happening now in family accommodation, which is what I'm delving straight into, which is what I think is really key, because it is very difficult to get a family accommodation now, especially in the UK, with the amount of people who are coming to schools who are also coming with their dependents. So you have a lot of people coming with dependents in recent times, more than the singles. I don't have my statistics, but from what I see that more people come with their dependents as families than the singles. And if you're coming as a family, accommodation options are not so much like before. So from what I see, the reason why it's so difficult for families to get accommodation is that most times the school wouldn't do that for you. So you have to make your own private arrangements. And people who have finished schooling do not necessarily leave these days, because of course they have the post-work 2 years post-work visa after the study year, and so they still retain their houses. Now more people are coming in with families, So the number of houses for families are depleting day by day, day by day. So you find a situation whereby the demand surpasses the supply by a huge percentage. And you know what happens when demand surpasses supply is prices tend to go higher. So you have to pay a bit higher for some of these houses than you would have paid a year ago, 2 years ago, or thereabout. And another thing is that you hardly see a family accommodation that is furnished. So when you're looking for accommodation, you have the money for your accommodation. You also should be thinking of how you want to furnish your apartment as a family. Okay. Also, when you're coming as a family, apart from the money you're paying monthly for your accommodation, you need to also take into consideration when you're getting a house and you're signing all the contract. In fact, there's a lot of paperwork. So if you're coming as a family, my very first advice to you is when you get your admission, start looking for a place. There are lots of sites where you could check. I know Rightmove. I used Rightmove. I used Zoopla. I used a couple of sites. I checked so many places. Even though I started early, I still did not get an accommodation until I came here. But it was easier for me to move into my place than if I hadn't started. I actually started as soon as I got my admission. I like to plan ahead. As soon as I got my admission, I knew that if I've gotten an admission, the next year I'm going to get a visa. And so I took those leaps of faith. As soon as I got my admission, I started looking on the internet for houses in the vicinity where my school is located. Another tip I would like to give you at this point is that it doesn't have to really be exactly in that particular postcode where your school is located, because I was just streamlining my search to where my school is located, because of course I don't want to be paying transport to school. I want to be able to walk to school. The closer your house is to school, the more expensive most times, because that's what a lot of people want. So it still boils down to the whole demand and supply stuff I just mentioned. More people want to stay closer to the school so they can easily walk to school. Well, when you're looking for accommodation as family people, there are a couple of things you need to do. But why I say the accommodation is very key is, please bear in mind, apart from the fact that if you delay getting accommodation, you will not be at rest, because where do you want to be staying with your kids? Like for me, after everything I did to make sure that I get the accommodation before I came here, I spent like 4 months before I got an accommodation total. That's from when I got my admission. I started looking for accommodation till when I finally got my key into my house. It was like about 4 months. But that doesn't mean your case will be the same, so let's not even get it twisted. I have somebody who came around and within 2 weeks he got a place. I have people who had gotten places within a week and thereabout. And it also depends on the particular place where you're staying. In some areas, especially where the school fees, the schools have relatively cheap school fees, you have multitude of people, and the more people that come to a locality, the more difficult it is to get a house. And if you're coming as a family, that is, and you have children, your children need to go to school. So when you're looking for accommodation, these are the things I did. When I'm looking for accommodation, I looked for the schools within that area where my children can go. I was looking for some specific kind of schools, so I looked at schools. I also looked out for church. I need somewhere I could worship. So you could look out for this, because your children will definitely be given schools by the council around where you live. So without an accommodation, you cannot do practically anything in the UK. So the accommodation is very key. And that's why I say it's very important you start looking for accommodation once you get your admission. You will not be able to secure it without having your visa, but at least you have an idea of what it takes to get accommodation. You see how difficult it is, because sometimes even to get them to take you to the house for viewing, you have to do your viewing, then you have to sign a lot of contracts, agreements, and the rest. And most houses will not give you anything less than 6 months contract. So you have to start pre-planning that in your head, that wherever it is you are taking, you cannot live there less than 6 months. So you need to make sure you're getting somewhere that you can stay at least for 6 months. Some people, I have friends who had their landlord ask them to sign 10 months, but I think the minimum I've seen is 6 months. So you should put that behind you. No, not behind you. You should put that at the back of your mind when you are searching for an accommodation. You should also know that, so when I say without accommodation you can't do anything, you need what you call the national insurance number, which is what they'll use for both your tax and pension kind of arrangement. And most employers will need your national insurance number before you can apply or get a job. So you need accommodation to do that. You need accommodation to secure schools for your children. You need that accommodation before you can register with the GP, that's your general practitioner, for healthcare. You need accommodation for basically everything. Without accommodation, you cannot open bank accounts. So your life will be miserable if you don't have an accommodation. It's not a cost, it's not as if I'm causing it, but that's just a fact. It will be miserable without an accommodation because you can practically do nothing and you will find it very difficult to settle in. And wherever it is you're staying, which is most likely going to be like a temporary accommodation, you are paying money. Like for me, I didn't get the accommodation. I ended up spending 10 days of my quarantine in a hotel. The money I paid for that 10 days, is sufficient to pay 2 months. 2 months rent. 2 months rent. That's a lot of money. Why do you want to do that? So I don't want you to be like me. Start early. I started early, but I wasn't so fortunate. So that's why I want you to start early. And so hopefully you'll be more fortunate. You won't be able to secure it without your visa, but imagine you get your visa and maybe you have someone who could check out the house for you, help you do the viewing. If you have friends in the city where you're moving to, let someone help you do the viewing. So I paid the deposit right from when I was still in my home country, and yet, everything dragged. As soon as I got my visa, I started making concrete arrangements for all the places I've been asking them to view that they kept saying was not available. Another thing is that some of the places you will see will not be available. They will tell you they'll be available from maybe September when they intend to have the people there move out. But sometimes you get back to them and they're like, you go back and check 2 weeks before the time they gave you and it's already gone. So I feel maybe they feel the people will move out and they don't move out and renew their contract, and somehow they take it off the market list. So you have to keep searching. I know more than 10 places I got that all of a sudden they just disappeared. They were taken. Meanwhile, they told me they were not available. So either they were taken, because when I came here and I saw the situation, I said, it's either they were taken or the people that were there renewed their contract and did not move out. So in that case, it wasn't available for anybody to rent it. So you need to put all this into perspective while you're looking for an accommodation. Because what part of the challenges I've noticed that students who have graduated do not leave after schooling. I mentioned that before. Then you have more students coming with families. So definitely prices will keep going up and up and up. Because in fact, I saw a friend of mine was looking for accommodation for more than 1 month before he finally got. I know what it means paying for a hotel or a guest house for that period of time. That's a lot of money. And aside that, there is one key thing you also need to know. At times you will even get the accommodation and they'll need you to be working, to show them pay slip of where you're working in the UK, so that they are sure that you'll be able to pay subsequent monthly rents. So I will advise, if you're unable to get one before you come, once you come here, let you or your spouse quickly get one of survival or hustle jobs, not necessarily skilled job, but you'll see a lot of unskilled jobs that you can do. Get those jobs and use that as something to show that yes, one of you is working at least. If you find yourself in that situation, but even if you don't, if you do that ahead of time, it's a plus for you, because at the end of the day, you don't lose anything. You're making money, and if they ask, you have something to show them as pay slip, because some of them will ask for your pay slip to show that you can pay for the rent. And so it's for me, it's the most difficult part of moving to the UK. For me, that was my most difficult part, even though I started early. And so I thought it was a personal thing. So I started seeing people who had stayed months without accommodation. I started seeing people who had stayed weeks without accommodation. And so for me, I feel the accommodation is very key. Today I finished lectures, I was feeling very tired, but I'm like, I need to shoot this video. So I have a lot of people who have gotten the admission for September and are awaiting their CAS. While they await CAS and other things they might need for their visa application, it is a very good time to start looking for accommodation. So I said, let me do this video so that it's quite handy and people can know what to do and start on time. By the way, I know I didn't say it at the beginning, but you people know that everything I'm saying is just me sharing my own experience and the experiences of people around me, which I have try to learn from. And I'm no expert, but this is what I advise you to do. And if you found this video useful, or if you have other things you need to find out, the comment section is always open. Please do like the video if it's helpful. When you like the video, it helps, set the video among videos for people to watch. Also share for those who are looking for accommodation. I know a couple of people have reached out on accommodation issues with me, and that's part of what prompted this video. And at this point, I say bye. See you in the next video.